think I pressed all the correct buttons. I think we're good. I think we're live.
I think so.
I think so.
Are we?
Yes, everybody, and welcome to High on Homegrown, the cannabis podcast from Percy'sGrowroom.com. I am Mackie from the UK, and joining us this week, we have Marge.
That's right. Marge from Central Canada, Ontario, if you know where that is. And happy to be here, host of your favorite edibles podcast, Bite Me, the show about edibles.
Nice. And unfortunately, Monkey isn't going to be here this week for a change. You know, Monkey's here every week, but he's ill. He's got some kind of flu, cold, maybe that thing, you don't know. He's just very ill and he's in bed. Can't make it to the show today. So let's all say get well soon to Monkey and send our best wishes.
Right.
And hope that he's up to scratch. There's something going around. Me and Marge discussed it before the show started, and I was ill last week. If you were there for the Ethan Russo episode, and I'm just leaning over my microphone dying. But we made it through the interview
Right after Thanksgiving, so that was fun. Not so fun, so I think whatever's going around is pretty global right now.
Yeah, that's right. So stay safe out there, everybody. You don't want to get ill. It's horrible shit.
Wear your mask.
Well, that's controversial,
I know.
Shit. Yeah, so, and because Monkey isn't here this week, we're going to have Martin come and join us because there was some stuff happening over in Ireland, which is a good part of the cannabis news bit of the show. So we'll cover it there. My phone went off in my headphones, man. It really put me off then. God damn, I thought I put it on Do Not Disturb. Give me a second while I put this phone on. It's so unprofessional, everybody.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't want that happening again.
That's a lack of professionalism right there. Do not disturb.
Everybody? Are you there, Marge?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Martin's going to be joining us to be talking about some news coming out of Ireland, which is some pretty, I don't know, it's kind of good, kind of bad news. Martin's going to explain it all. He did a few streams over the weekend, so we're going to catch up with that. But we won't be doing the grow guides today because Monkey isn't here, and, it takes a conversation between a few of us to do the grow guides, I feel. I just don't know. It seems strange not doing the grow guides without Monkey. You know what I'm saying? Shut up, Billy. Goddamn professionalism started already. Look at him. Give me shit. Goddamn.
Hey, come on, we're covering some breaking
It's Sunday, man. Yeah, come on. We're all trying to chill here, Billy. We all want to be professional on a Sunday night. Jesus.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah, we'll try. But Billy, tell them about the backgammon games we've had this weekend. Goddamn. Been annihilating Billy at backgammon, everybody. Like, destroying him. He's lost quite a few games. But yes, so, back to what we were talking about. Yeah, so no grow guides, but we'll be doing that on Wednesday, maybe Thursday. We'll see what happens, see how Monkey feels throughout the week. But there's a thread over on Percy's Grow Room. If you want to say get well soon, Monkey, make sure you head over there and say get well soon in the thread. But anything interesting going on? Is there anything else to add here? I mean, it's quite a short intro because there's only the two of us, Marge. But what's going on with Bite Me? You got any interesting news going on your side of things?
Oh, I'm trying to think. No, I mean, just plugging away. I do have an interview coming out that I'm really excited about with the co-founder of Rose Edibles out of California, which I'm really looking forward to because they specialize in Turkish delights.
Oh, what are you doing?
I love them, okay? They're so good. They're so good. And the way their approach to making edibles is just I love everything about it. But I tried making Turkish delights recently, and it was a total abject failure. It was
a lesson to be learned, man. You gotta learn these things.
Yeah, and I asked him about it too, and he's just like, "Yeah, they're not that easy to make at home." I was like, "Fuck, well, I should have asked you first." But yeah, I might try it again. But
you should definitely try it again. Should definitely give it a shot.
Yeah.
And Speak in the chat there just asked, no news on Bubble Hawk. Unfortunately, no, we have heard nothing from him whatsoever. We
were just talking about that before the show, wondering, did he say 3 weeks or 6 weeks? Mackie can't remember.
I can't remember. It's in one of the shows somewhere. So, and you guys listen every week. Can anybody remember?
You should do like a prize. Somebody can go back and find the exact moment when it was mentioned. They'll get seeds or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and if nobody can find it, we'll just put a Deadpool up.
Right?
Be like, on which day is Bubble Hawk gonna return?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be fun. But I'm sure he's fine. Yeah, we can speculate about where he is and all that, but we don't know where he is. He's probably just busy, and he'll get in touch when he's back.
Yeah.
So,
Hopefully,
we
hopefully
look forward
he's
to it. Yeah. Sorry, Marge.
smoking a lot of squished stuff wherever he
Hmm.
is.
Yeah, so we got
Maybe.
Martin waiting in the waiting room already. So we're ready to cover the cannabis news and events over there. So I think we should get on it, everybody. What you all think? Don't forget to hit
Yeah.
that like
Let's do
button
it.
if you haven't done that already as well. And subscribe if you're new. And blah, blah, blah. Let's go on with the cannabis news and events. Are we ready, March? Have we done everything?
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. So here we are, everybody, for this week's cannabis news and events. We've got a few stories to be covering this week, but we also have a guest on the show who is going to talk about some of the news that came out of Ireland this week as well, which is some very interesting stuff. And that's Martin from Martin's World. What's up, bro? Are you there?
Yeah, what's happening, Mackie? Sorry about the delay.
Well, well, that's loud. That's loud.
Oh shit!
Jesus.
Sorry. Ah.
It was all muffled, man. How are you? You good?
Good. Yeah, are we better now?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
You
It
sound good to
wasn't
me,
terribly
so-
loud. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, that was a Zoom set, and I've not used Zoom for a while, so she must have been high.
Sweet. Yeah, it's good to hear from you, man, because you went dark for a while there. Didn't see you on doing any streams or any videos for a while. Everything okay?
Yeah, everything's good now. If I can just had to take a bit of time off, focus on other things, more important priorities and all of that stuff. Unfortunately,
Indeed,
just other things in life got in the way of the campaign. But yeah, if I can happily say that things are a lot better now.
Nice.
And I can get back into campaigning soon.
Sweet, man. We should get you on the show for an interview soon when you're ready for it. But right now we want to talk about this stuff that happened over in Ireland over the weekend, man. Some citizens' assembly thing. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah. I suppose like we've been waiting for this since the government formed. So like just to bring it back, we had an election there at the beginning of this whole fucking COVID stuff. Is that still a rule? We have to hit the ball now? So I said
Yeah,
COVID.
everybody smoke. You know, he said the word. He said the word, everybody.
But at the start of that thing, anyway, we had an election here in Ireland, and the Green Party, Ireland's Green Party, they ran with cannabis legalization. At least they were indicating towards an Amsterdam style coffee shop model. So I know myself, that Amsterdam, it isn't legal, but they were kind of describing Amsterdam as a legalized model. So the Green Party were using that as their model. They got into government. They got into government formation talks and they quickly let that go. So the cannabis legalization idea died away. But how they managed to kind of frame it like, oh yeah, well, we didn't completely cop out on that. We ended up getting the citizens' assembly on drug use, was kind of what they got then instead. So that was kind of how they sold it to their voters. That look, we didn't kind of betray on this one. We kind of got this, which is where we're going to get what we want. But like, we're finished it now, and it's not what we kind of wanted at all, unfortunately. It was a great process, an incredible opportunity for us here in Ireland. Some great presentations made, some great points brought up, but unfortunately, it just seemed like I don't know, the powers that be just co-opted this towards the end there, and they got the result they wanted, which is to retain the status quo effectively.
It finished off as medical, and this wasn't just for cannabis, was it? This was for other drugs. They did
All drugs.
cannabis, cocaine, and then
really?
hallucinogenics. Is that what they
Yeah,
had?
so this was looking at Ireland's drug policy. So that's what it would have been looking at. And like our drug policy is just all drugs. But it was very annoying in that like the terms of reference, which is basically the guidelines for the Citizens' Assembly, it was incredibly restrictive. I equate it to if you were to be having a conversation about cars, but restricting the conversation to being only about car crashes and then having a vote about whether you want to allow people to be able to use cars or not. That's
Right.
effectively what they restricted the conversation to, just looking at the harms, looking at those people who were negatively impacted from their drug use, and have a conversation about that, and then vote on drugs after you listen to all of these horror stories. So they didn't get to hear about the person who took some psilocybin mushrooms and they were no longer suffering with symptoms of depression. they never got to hear about people suffering with epilepsy, such as myself, who have lived a better quality of life thanks to cannabis. They didn't get to talk to people, again, like myself, who've experienced therapeutic benefits of compounds like DMT. So, like, how can you make an educated choice on these substances when you're not getting a full picture? Like, and the most important part of that is the beneficial side of these drugs. And because a lot of the times when we look at it, the people who are victimized because of our drug policy, they're self-medicating with cannabis, or not cannabis, but any kind of drug, really. Like, even people suffering with full-on addiction using heroin and stuff, like they're suffering as well, and behind that, like they're self-medicating. They're using heroin as an escape, because if they weren't using heroin, they'd probably just take a rope and, you know, jump off the ledge, you know. So, like, heroin for some people, it's keeping them alive. It's just keeping them from taking their own lives, which many people sadly do. And, you know, if it's keeping them alive that little bit longer, it's an opportunity there to save a life, really, isn't that?
Yeah, yeah.
We're going to continue punishing them here in Ireland, unfortunately.
So does that mean that the focus mostly of this whole discussion was, you said, the harms of drugs? It would have been mostly the focus on drugs like cocaine or heroin or whatever then, right?
No, it was all, like, it was just all drugs. It was just talking about you know, young people getting into debt because of cannabis addictions and stuff like that came up. Drug related intimidation came up. So that would have been applied to all drugs. There would have been, yeah, there would have been definitely negative effects there as well of cannabis being brought up. There would have been Professor Bobby Smith, I believe, he got to make a presentation to it. There was a couple of presentations there made, and they really painted cannabis in a very negative light. I think Professor Bobby Smith was kind of highlighting, you know, over 50% of the people coming to my addiction center are there with cannabis addiction. You know, it's
percent.
yeah.
Wow.
Well, that seems to be an exaggerated number, though, right?
It does seem high.
Yeah, but what he's not talking about there is that they also have other addictions. That it's not like, and when he talks about addiction, he never really defines what an addiction is. And if you were to actually listen to, if he was to define it, he would be telling you it's just simply they're using it. Using it is, they must be addicted to it.
Right. So the definition of addiction is pretty loose then.
Oh, incredibly loose. And you have to keep in mind as well, some of the people going to see him would have been sent from the courts. Even though he likes to say that, you know, oh, my clients don't get sent here by the courts, but quite often or not, they come there of their own volition because they have courts. You know, they'll pay for the service. Sometimes these people can afford to pay for the service, maybe for themselves or their son or daughter, because they're well off enough. And then they'll get a favorable kind of outcome in the court. They go in and say, oh yeah, we've been engaging with such and such a service there, and here's a clean drug sample and all of this kind of crap, and they get off with it.
Right. Which makes sense. Why wouldn't you do that? But then that inflates his numbers, like you're saying.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Not an accurate picture at all.
No. And so, he'll never allude to that fact. Like, he'll never tell the truth on that matter at all. He'll always indicate that, oh no, they're not sent there by the courts, but they might have come afterwards.
Yeah, maybe not directly set by courts, but certainly influenced by an outcome while they're in the court system.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what happened then? I mean, they sat there, they essentially educated everybody before they was allowed to make their votes. But there was some dodginess with the actual votes as well, wasn't there? Well, things they had to choose and shit.
Yeah, well, on the education piece, like the Citizens Assembly, it's been held now over the last 6 months, I suppose. There's been one session over the course of 2 days over a weekend, once a month for the last 6 months. So there's been a lot of effort there to educate them, provide them with information about the drugs. But again, they've completely excluded any therapeutic benefits, and even they've actually excluded, like, say, somebody like that Professor Carl Hart or Professor David Nutt from the UK. Somebody like these experts to come in and actually inform the citizens about these drugs and how they actually work and the real dangers they're posed to the individual from the drug, just exclusively from the drug, not even talking about anything else before that, just the drug. And then going on to talking about, you know, the people then who would be at risk of developing drug abuse from these drugs, because nobody ever really talks about that. They always just think that there's the drug and everyone is at risk of abuse. But in actual fact, like it's no, there's the drug, and there's a certain segment of of a population that will be prone to falling into the freaking, I would just say, the category of drug addiction and all of that. And what would you find about those people is quite often or not, they've got trauma behind them, they've got mental health problems behind them, or unfortunately for some people, they just got addictive personalities. They don't have much self-control. But that's only a small percentage of the drug using population.
So it was a biased panel then. The people doing the education, you say it was a biased in the first place. They didn't give both sides. They just gave the negatives in regards to
it was quite biased, but I wouldn't say entirely biased. There were some great presenters came on, the guys who shared the lived experience, some of the guys who came from the addiction treatment centers, they made some great presentations. There was others as well. Dr. Ian Matter, I do believe he's a criminology a lecturer, professor, and he made an excellent presentation. He actually alluded to the citizens, like, guys, you're not actually being educated properly about these drugs, and therefore you're going to remain fearful of them, and that's going to guide your hand when it comes to voting time. And citizens brought that up there today, highlighting the fact that, like, we were told if we weren't going to be educated about these drugs, we were going to be fearful, and that was going to affect the outcome of these votes. And now we're seeing that outcome affected.
Oh, wow. So is there going to be an appeal or anything like that? Because I know people are unhappy. But what was the result to start with? It was like 1 point away from being legalized, right, or being forwarded to the parliament to be legalized. What's the score?
So what you're talking about there is the cannabis one. So when it came to voting on drugs and what they do with them, I suppose the first part, that there was the very first question as to what they were going to do with the drug policy. Did they want to retain the status quo? Did they want a comprehensive health-led approach, health diversion, tolerance, or did they want a hybrid model, which basically meant that they would deal with the drugs individually or categorize them and deal with the categories individually? So that actually got an overwhelming support for a hybrid model. Over 85% of the voters actually rejected the status quo in that very first vote. Wow. So us as campaigners, like, I think you might have even been watching at that point, Mackie, like we were all ecstatic, like we were over the moon. We were thinking, like, here we go, this is the start of it now, this is great. They've just completely rejected the status quo, which means, like, we're going for change here. Like, we're going to see either decriminalization or legalization. That's what everyone was expecting at that point. But then the next kind of question came up, and that's where things got a little bit muddied. So they were asked then on the next question, which was breaking down the four drugs categories. They isolated cannabis on its own, they isolated cocaine on its own. Then they had a group of what they called hallucinogens, psilocybin mushrooms, ayahuasca, ketamine, and all of those other kind of hallucinogenic drugs. And then they had all other drugs then as a category, heroin and everything else that didn't fall into anything previously. Right. And what happened then, instead of actually doing what they voted for, which was a hybrid model, taking a different approach for each different drug, they ended up actually voting for a comprehensive health-led approach to drugs, to all of the drugs, which is effectively what we already had. So the status quo was retained in there as an option for the citizens to vote on. And then the next option was a health diversion, and then you had comprehensive health-led. Like those three options, there was nothing there to differentiate them. They're the same thing, just dressed up differently. That's the only way to describe it. Like, we already have in Ireland a health-led approach to drugs, as they're calling it. They've introduced a caution system for drugs like cannabis, and I think they're extending it, or they might have already extended it to other drugs. So we kind of already had this health-led approach. We already have the courts being somewhat lenient to people, not giving them convictions. They're giving them like the donations to charity. We always criticize it, but it's kind of a handy thing to have as well in the court, because, you know, if you got the money, you just give them the donation, out the door you go, good luck, you're done, happy days. So we already had a health-led approach, but now we've a comprehensive health-led approach, and I just can't see the difference. I really can't see the difference. They've done a transfer system as well with the votes on that occasion. which it didn't end well at all for the cannabis vote, because the cannabis vote started off with 36 votes. It was
Mm.
clear leader at this point. The next closest to it, I believe, had less than 20. So cannabis legalization and regulation got, I believe it was 44% of the vote in the first round of voting. And then over the next 3 rounds, as other options were eliminated and their votes were transferred to the next preference that the person chose, cannabis ended up, legalization ended up finishing off with 38 votes in the end. So it only actually got 2 transfers from the other options.
Wow.
And the comprehensive health-led approach won out by 1 vote. It got 39 votes in total. So it was 39 versus 38 in the end, which,
Wow.
which was sad. Like it took 3 recounts before the comprehensive health-led got enough to pass out the legalization and regulation to be the winner then at that point, which is so fucking wrong.
Damn. It was really close, man. Fucking
It
tragic.
was, but like the thing the important thing to take away from all of this era is the citizens overwhelmingly rejected the status quo. And then what
Mhm.
happened afterwards is that they were tricked into voting again for the status quo with bells and whistles. Status quo
Mhm.
2.0. That's what
Status quo under a different name.
yeah, it's the quo status.
Yeah.
No.
Fuck. So yeah,
Well,
lots of people unhappy with the results, man. It's a shame to see, because at first when I was watching it, so I seen you on your stream, it seemed like, wow, this is like real fucking democracy going on right here. Just getting, people from the actual population of the country, just normal everyday people, like a jury service kind of thing. Get them
yeah.
in a room and make them vote on certain things. It was like, and then to count the votes on the day and discuss it being passed right on the same day. That's like, wow, man, we need to see more of this kind of stuff around the world. But
So is this like, sorry, is this like a referendum that they're running then? Kind of thing? I don't
No,
know if I totally understand the system itself, like the Citizens Assembly. Maybe I'm not the only one, but
Mhm. Yeah, what actually happens, Martin? Well, what happens when the votes are passed? What happens after this? Like, do they decide, or does it just get forwarded? Is it a referendum, like March says?
no, this is just it's basically a report what gets generated at the end, and a report contains a number of recommendations that get generated from the citizens over the course of the assembly. So based on the presentations that were made to them and the voting then towards the end, they generate a report. And as I say, and within the report, it contains a number of recommendations. The most important one, I suppose, is that the citizens want a comprehensive health-led approach to drugs. And then what they ended up doing in the end is that they're just basically calling for more funding and more resources for the creation of new quangos within our legal system. We've what's known as a Criminal Assets Bureau over here in Ireland. And it's a national organization. It's got its headquarters above in Dublin, and it operates all over Ireland from Dublin. But what they called for there as part of the Citizens' Assembly, they actually want the establishment of local criminal assets bureaus. So they want to actually further expand the criminal assets bureaus offices to local regions, so that they're more actively working in those regions. Because at the moment, the criminal assets bureau, they're only above in Dublin, they're only focused on some of the main big gangs. Like what they're kind of talking about here now is bringing them down. And what are they going to start going after small growers and stuff like that? You catch it with a bit of a grow, next they're going to be looking around to see if you've anything of worth. Oh, you must have got that from illegal gains, and start
right.
your shit.
Fuck, man.
Like that's the worry that I got out of that one. They also called for a zero tolerance approach to drug related intimidation and violence, which I support that. But the thing is, when you're talking about drug related intimidation and violence, it's like you can't have a conversation about that without actually highlighting the fact that it's only there because of prohibition. That
Right.
if you look at any other drug that we've regulated, such as tobacco or alcohol, you don't have drug related intimidation associated with their supply. Like you don't have your local chemist that's banging out fucking codeine pills and stuff like that to people. Like there's no drug related intimidation violence coming from chemists supplying those people who are addicted to their drug of choice. You know,
It's
you don't
ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't hear that. Like, so it's just really annoying that they would have these conversations and not highlight the fact that the prohibition that they're supporting through this is the reason why there's drug-related intimidation and violence. And if you were to truly take a no tolerance approach, you would be calling out prohibition and saying, "Hey, this has got to go. We've no
Mhm.
tolerance to this fucking
Right.
drug-related intimidation and violence." So, like, drug prohibition has got to go.
Hmm. So who creates the questions that are presented to the Citizens Assembly in the first place?
Yeah, that this gets formulated by the Oireachtas, so that's the terms of reference, I suppose. But the questions on the ballot there, I think that maybe what you're asking
Yeah.
towards the end, I would love to know who formulated them.
Okay.
I really would love to know who formulated them because whoever it was, they were definitely working in an underhanded way in how they formed these
Right.
ballots and the questions.
Right.
Like,
The questions are kind of presented in a way to achieve a certain outcome, perhaps.
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
like the five options given on the ballot paper was status quo, health diversion, comprehensive health ed, tolerance, and then legalization and regulation. So there was five options on it, and the tolerance one, like that's effectively decriminalization alone. Just we're going to decriminalize the drug user. We're going to tolerate a certain amount of the drugs. So it would have been that would have been like a Portuguese model. The Portuguese model have a tolerance model. They tolerate up to a 10-day supply of drugs. You know, that's decriminalization. But now they've gone for what they said is a comprehensive health ed. And within the comprehensive health ed, they make references to Portugal, but it's not in like Portugal's model at all. Like,
Mhm.
at least it seems like not like Portugal's model to me.
Yeah. Have you
Because
got any ideas how the end goal is going to look from here? Like what the plan is with this medical orientated legalization, whatever the fuck they're calling it.
yeah, well, I suppose it's just going to be back to policymakers now, and it seems like it's just going to be expanding upon what we already have in the health-led approach. So,
Mm.
as I said, we have a caution system there for drugs like cannabis. They're probably just going to expand that now to all drugs. So, if
Mm.
you get caught with the drugs by the cops, they can have the power of discretion to kind of say to you, "Look, we're not going to put you through the process, but." We'll send you to this health fucking diversion program. You know, you got to show up down there and I don't know, do a clean piss test. Like go up for a couple of days,
Mm.
get rehabilitated because of your drug use. Like that's what's going to go on. But if you say to that cop, or if you just don't show up to that, then you're back to the judicial system where you're now treated like a criminal again. You're going to be getting fines. You're going to be possibly getting community service. Um, the option of incarceration is still there as well. You know, albeit kind of further down the road from them. Like they'll be less likely to reach for that. They'll give you a fine or community service much sooner. Because like in Ireland, you have to remember our prisons are crowded. Like they're overflowing. They're
Mhm.
all at capacity. So this is in their favor as well. Oh yeah, we won't send them to prison. We'll give them a fine. We'll give them community service. We send them out there doing the work that the council is supposed to be doing there, cleaning up the streets.
Mm.
That'll save us a couple of bob. Like a Casa de Strugus was saying it there earlier, Graham. Like the prison industry in the US, it's been compared to like a legalized form of slavery with the free labor that they kind of
Mhm.
have people doing there. They have guys
Right.
working for like what 20 cents an hour, 5 cents an hour, or something like that. Fucking,
Damn.
I think the one thing we always kind of would associate with that was printing the license plates, wasn't it? That was always something that was
Mhm.
associated with prisons and shit. Like, but like
Mhm.
anyway, like you might have watched Orange is the New Black. I watched that with herself, like, but like in that they had what was that?
Watch that
Victoria's
with herself. Yeah, you didn't watch it. The missus watched it and you was in the room whilst the missus was watching it.
There's no shame in watching Orange is the New Black. It was good for the first few seasons.
It was good for the first 2 seasons, in fairness. But
Mhm.
Yeah.
they had Victoria's Secret there operating through the prison. Like they had the women in there making like the lingerie, and then like a part of that, then the women were sending her out. They used to have fans on the outside selling the lingerie, dirty lingerie.
Which is pretty crazy. And I remember one time seeing like some kind of chart, and this was US based, but the number of well-known US brands that were using prison labor to help manufacture some of their products. And it was a much longer list than you would expect.
Wow.
And yeah, I mean, that is literal slave labor, like you're saying. These people are not getting paid
Mhm.
anything close to what anybody else would get paid.
I would be worried that Ireland could end up going down that road if we retain this type of approach to drug use because we're going to have so many people. We've about 18,000 people every year on average getting caught with personal amounts of drugs in Ireland going through the court system. So now you're going to have 18,000 people on average every year who are now liable for free labor, you know?
Right. And then suddenly you've got an industry on your hands and there's really no reason to change the system.
Yeah.
Mhm. Scary, man. Scary. You don't think it's going to go that way, though, do you?
I really hope to God it doesn't. But who knows? Like you just don't know. 'Cause, as I said,
Yeah.
community service. Like there's only so much community service that a person can do before somebody realizes, hey, come here, we've a fair bit of manpower going through here. Like we could capitalize off this. And sure, like you know how politicians do this. Like the brown envelope days are gone, but as soon as they're out of their post, then they're in a board position there for one of these companies, getting a 6-figure salary off them. You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Some bullshit, man. So when can you? I mean, can you guys appeal what happened? Can you appeal the result? When is the next vote? If you can't, you know what happens from here?
There's sweet F all we can do from here now, unfortunately. Outside
Fuck.
of like what as I said, we've got one strong thing that we took out of this was the Citizens Assembly overwhelmingly voted against the status quo. Like that's one thing that we have and we have to hold on to because with that, you know, we can go towards any of the policymakers and say, hey guys, the citizens have rejected the status quo. We need change here. And they've actually for a comprehensive health-led approach. And we can really drive home the message that if you want a comprehensive health-led approach, you need to have a clean, safe supply of drugs for the drug user. Otherwise, the drug users are at risk of falling prey to, you know, contaminated drug supplies. How can you call it a comprehensive health-led approach if you're not going to clean up the supply of the drug for the drug user?
Craziness.
Yeah, so like that's what's there for us as campaigners. We have to use this stuff now to our advantage afterwards. Like we can't be completely defeated and deflated by this and, you know, hang up our hats and give up. But you know, we need to use this now, fuel into the engines and full steam ahead.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it, man. Things will work out okay eventually. It's just going to take time to fucking get there. And it's sad that we didn't get the result that we wanted, you know. That's a damn shame. Because I was fully expecting it to get legalized, man. Well, you know, for that motion to get put forward anyway.
Yeah, I thought decriminalization was guaranteed with this, you know, that tolerance option. Like if they had that listed correctly, it would have been much better. Whereas like they just listed tolerance, they just listed legalization and regulation, but like how misleading is that to the citizens, especially citizens who haven't been properly educated about drugs, who retain of these drugs and the use of these drugs. Like they're going to read something like comprehensive health led. That sounds good. I'm afraid of this drug and what it might do to people. Yeah, they need a comprehensive health led because tolerance. Sure, we can't tolerate people just using drugs. Like, but if they had a health-led decriminalization, if they had health-led legalization and regulation, I would say that would have massively changed the outcome of that vote. I think people were voting in fair. They seen health within the wording, and you know they went for a comprehensive health. Jeez, that sounds good. You know, what actually is it? It's the fucking status quo.
Bullshit, man. Yeah, so that's what's going on over in Ireland right now, everybody. I mean, I wish it was better.
Yeah, I wish it was better.
What it is.
Going forward as well, we are approaching a 10-year anniversary of when Ireland actually last got the vote on a cannabis legalization bill. So you had him on as a guest before, I believe, Mackie. Luke Ming Flanagan, I think.
Yeah.
He's a great guy to check our chat with. But he put forward a bill back in 2013. It was voted on the 6th of November. It was defeated, I believe, 111 to 8 or something like that. He was saying it himself. I interviewed him there myself just over a year ago, 2 years ago, and he was telling me that he didn't believe that any of them actually even read his bill because they were saying stuff and they were asking questions that clearly indicated that they hadn't read the bill at all. And they voted on it. Like that's it's shameful.
Man. Yeah.
On that 10-year anniversary, there's plans being made at the moment now to have a day of action here in Ireland to highlight the fact that the vote only lost out by one and the flaws there and how citizens were misled into that vote. You know, and even the dissatisfaction that was expressed at the Citizens Assembly in regards to the vote, citizens expressing the fact that they were confused about the process. So that's kind of what the plan is going forward. Just getting back into the campaign, and now the ball is back in our court as campaigners. So it's just up to us as to what we do. And November 6th, there should be a day of action here in Ireland, calling for
Sweet.
cannabis to be legalized.
Well,
Nice.
we'll keep up to date with all the news, man. You can come on any time and let us know about what's going on in Ireland. It'll be good to hear what happens in the future with this whole thing. It's interesting. It's a shame it didn't work out, man.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Well, there was a lot of hope in this. I know a lot of people were really optimistic as to the outcome of this, but like as I say, going forward now, we did get something at least out of this, and that's a rejection of the status quo from the citizens. You know what about the rest of the votes that happened there? Like that first vote really is the direction that we need to be focusing on, away from the status quo.
Mhm.
Comprehensive health led, as we say, we need to be fucking widening what that actually means. And as I say, including a regulated safe supply of drugs. It's not more comprehensively health led than that to me. So yeah, we'll definitely keep you up to date.
Yeah, man. So you want to stay around to cover the rest of the news, or have you got things to do? What do you want to do?
I've got a bowl here to smoke. If I can smoke
Sweet.
that.
Let's do it then. Well, because I've got this
allowed.
news story from the UK that I've been wanting to get round to, because this is from the gov.uk. This is a government thing, so a big piece of news here regarding the illegal cannabis market in the UK, because that's what we have here. Like Martin says, this is what regulation brings us, is these criminal gangs and shit, and this is a good representation of what the illegal cannabis market can turn into. So we have the title here. It says, County Lines Gangs Smashed in National Police Blitz. Over 1,600 arrests during County Lines crackdown in National Police operation last week, with over 100 kilograms of cannabis and 1.2 million of Class A drugs seized. So, yeah, it's a big bust, man, and it was all over the country, I think. Yeah, we're going to learn more in this news article here, but they got a shitload of drugs and weapons off the streets and broke down on some gangs. But I didn't even know this shit had happened until I seen this news story, and you'd think that it would have made an effect somewhere, but it never really does anything. When you have these busts, whoever gets arrested is replaced within a few hours, and the whole thing carries on. So I don't know if this is even going to do anything. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we have drug gangs across the UK were targeted in a national police operation last week, leading to 250 county lines being taken down and 1,613 arrests. The county lines intensification week, that's what it was called, fucking hell. The County Lines Intensification Week, coordinated by the NPCC, led National County Lines Coordination Centre, the NCLCC, also saw 103 kilograms of cannabis seized alongside 40 kilograms of Class A drugs worth over 1.2 million, 33 firearms, 377 bladed weapons, and over 1.2 million in cash, as forces made large gains against these gangs and the products that finance their exploitative criminality. So, as you can see, that's a lot of drugs and a lot of money that's been taken out the hands of these gangs. And this article does continue. I'll read a little bit more. There's some bits that don't make sense. 710 vulnerable people, including 58 children, were also referred by police to safeguarding services through the national operation. So that's 710 vulnerable people. I don't think that means all of them. So there must have been even more people involved. This is just the vulnerable people in this circle, this gang. It's crazy shit, man. Exploitation, coercion, and violence are cornerstones of the county lines trade, and cannabis is used by gangs to trap young people into debt, forcing them to transport their drugs and sell to other children to continue the cycle. That's essentially what county lines are, just in case anybody doesn't know. It's gangs get hold of teenagers, young kids, below the age of 18, and they force them to sell drugs for them. They get possession of a certain phone, and that's what the county line is. You phone this phone line, and that's the county line. And it's all about exploitation. And they know if the kids under the age of 18 get found and arrested with the drugs, then they're not going to suffer any long-term prison sentences because they're under the age of 18. So this is the whole the reason why these things exist. So of course, if it was legalized and properly regulated, this shit wouldn't be going on. But they refuse to do that. But anyway, we carry on here. By rescuing these vulnerable people from the grip of these gangs and helping them into support services such as the Home Office funded Catch 22, the cycle of violence and abuse is being broken. You just end it by properly legalizing and regulating. Why
Yeah,
do
that
they
would
have
be
to
another
do all this
way.
shit?
They're
You
saying
know?
they're helping these vulnerable kids and stuff, but you can't help but think that like these kids are making money. They're probably bringing like money
Mm.
home to provide for the family or something. You know that
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't be selling drugs if they weren't really in need of it. You know, there's not too many people doing it for those reasons anyway. It's because the other opportunities aren't afforded to these people. Like if they're vulnerable, it's because of government policies
Mm-hmm.
like prohibition.
Mhm.
Well, it's they're selling the drugs and shit. I don't really have a problem with that. They're just trying to make a fucking living. But when they're exploiting vulnerable people, they're getting the kids involved that the way they do that's wrong. Can't do that shit. Just exploiting people. I don't think they're paying the kids but they force into these situations, man. They just force them to sell a shitload of drugs and essentially use them as slaves.
Oh no, the
So,
kids are definitely going to be getting paid all right in some shape or form, whether it's just giving them some drugs or giving them a little bit of pocket money. Like,
mm-hmm.
but like I know myself, like growing up, that a few people I'm just thinking of here, and I won't say no names, like, but man, they would have done anything for like €20 or £10 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
like they would have done anything, like bring this up there, up to the bridge, give it to this fella, not a bother, but yeah, no bothers, like, and I seen it happen, and they
Mm-hmm.
would get like a nudge for doing it, and they didn't give a shit, like, um.
Scary, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But what's even more scarier is that all of this effort by the authorities and stuff, and like Neil Woods comes to mind, and like he
Mm-hmm.
talks
Mm-hmm.
about the massive resources being put into like all of these operations, and then ultimately resulting in interrupting the drug supply for about 7 seconds.
Right.
Yeah, that's
No,
right,
you're
isn't
right.
it?
And
Yeah.
that you said that at the beginning of the article, Mackie. Just like you take one out and there's another dealer in its place within,
Mm-hmm.
there's an endless supply.
Stupidness, man.
Yeah.
This article carries on as well. It comes on to some interesting points. In one operation attended by the Home Secretary during the National Police Chiefs Council Intensification Week in the West Midlands, 850,000 worth of cannabis was seized from cannabis factories, with more than 850 plants and nearly 6 kilograms of dried cannabis recovered. Heroes. Not all heroes wear capes. Last week's enforcement success come as a new Home Office statistic shows that in April 2022, 1,700 lines have been taken down through the government's County Lines program, alongside 3,300 arrests and 4,100 vulnerable people referred to support services, highlighting the success law enforcement, government, and support services are having in bringing down this heinous criminality. And it's like, come on, man. This is just gonna start again. I mean, this is the reoccurring theme of this. It's like, you really think you're doing anything? You're just making a small dent, and it's gonna be all fixed up, and somebody is gonna replace all of these people. It's it's just bringing more and more people into it as well. More and more people get pulled into these county lines because they need somebody to fill a fucking spot. They don't care about these kids. It's bad shit, man. What can you do? The Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, said, and she's quite ignorant, really. Vile thugs running county lines, drug gangs, blight our communities, and groom the most vulnerable in society for their personal gain. Our police officers are working every day to break these criminal networks pushing illegal drugs on the streets, and since April 2022, they have shut down over 1,700 county lines through the County Lines program. My message is clear: we will not tolerate illegal drugs of any kind, and we must rid our communities of these criminals. And how's that going for you?
All right, we'll make the drugs not illegal, and then maybe you'll also rid the communities of the criminals.
That would definitely work. I mean, they haven't
Different
tried
approach.
that one yet. They've tried everything
Yeah.
over the last 50 years, and nothing's
Yeah.
worked. We're still in a bad situation. So let's just,
Right.
I said on the last show, I think, let's just try it for 10 years. Change the rules, make it legal for 10 years, and see what the fuck happens. And when after 10 years, assess it.
Operations, Mackie, though.
What was that, mate?
That was a successful operation. Like, they want to change things. That was a success, apparently.
That's right. Successful.
Why
We
should they
just,
change anything when they're being successful.
and that's it. We're just degenerate drug users. We don't know what we're talking about. These guys know better. It's just ridiculous how ignorant they are. I'll skip down to this little section here. The intensification week, which ran from Monday the 9th of October to Sunday the 15th of October, saw 250 county lines taken down, 1,613 people arrested. This is the one I wanted to bring up, because the maths don't add up here. Right, we've got 458 weapons seized, including, everybody add this up, 33 firearms, 377 bladed weapons, 3 crossbows, 21 batons, and 28 knuckle dusters. And that adds up to more than 458. I think when I did the maths, it was 462, which I added it up to. So the numbers don't add up. Yeah.
Somewhere.
Maybe
Yeah.
some of the guns were bayonets.
That's what I thought. Maybe some of the firearms are also the stabbing weapons, you know?
Right, little crossover.
Yeah, or they counted some of the guns as batons. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. It crosses over somewhere. God, no. It's just, who writes these articles? You know, this is a Chat GPT one. This is, and then we have over 1.2 million worth of Class A and Class B drugs seized, 437,000 worth of crack cocaine, 100,000 worth of heroin, 40 kilograms of cocaine, and 103 kilos of cannabis seized. And I don't get that. It's like, why have you first off said 437 of crack cocaine and 100,000 worth of heroin, right? Giving monetary value to it. And then you're only just telling us the weights of the cocaine. You know, 40. How much is 40 kilograms of cocaine worth? Why didn't you give us the numbers? Why have you changed it there? I don't know why they did that. And then 1.2 million in cash seized as well. So a fuckload of money was taken. So yes, the UK government were very busy last week taking down all these criminal gangs. You know, what can you do? Really, the only way this is going to stop, to stop these criminal gangs from exploiting young people and vulnerable people, is to properly legalize and regulate. That's the only thing they can do. They've tried everything for 50 years. None of it's worked. We're still in this position. So legalization seems to be the only option, doesn't it?
Right.
But-
And there seems to be no lack of interest in people doing said drugs as well. So, you know, this whole, yeah.
It's messed up, man. But this is what we're dealing with here in the UK right now. There's so much gang activity all over the country. It's bad. It's scary, especially when you have kids, you know, teenage kids, and they have to go out and deal with people in this fucking country. It's crazy, man. It's scary. It's scary is what it is.
I feel
know,
sorry for you over there, though. You got some absolute sausages in power at the moment. Like,
No, mate, yeah, it's bad, man. Nobody's got a clue what's going on. It's fucked.
no. Like there was some promise there recently. I thought that London mayor guy was kicking up enough bit of a stink there. What was that, about 2 years ago? But where did that go? Like, what happened there with the decriminalisation in London? How's that gone?
Because they had that whole decriminalising cannabis for anybody on the age of 25 in London. Essentially was what happened. It was reported a story on it.
Though?
No, I don't know, mate. I don't think so.
I heard nothing after the fact. Like, I don't. Yeah.
But so yeah, we have another interesting news article here from Marge, because it's been 5 years of legal cannabis in Canada now, and they've got some studies done on this shit, right, Marge?
Yes, we do. Speaking of legalizing cannabis, we just had legalization on October 17th, and it has been 5 years. I will say somebody sent me this article, and if they're listening right now, I want to say thank you. I just can't remember who it was. So thanks for sending it along. But
Thank you.
a listener did send it. So this article is entitled 5 Years of Legal Cannabis, Fewer Charges, Many Hospitalizations, and More Than a Few Questions. Dun, dun, dun. So let's get into it. When Canada legalized the use of cannabis in October 2018, after decades of prohibition, the goals were to improve safety and public health, and reduce gang activity probably also, as well as to reduce access by youth, crime, and the illegal market. 5 years later, public health experts say legalization hasn't created any health benefits, interesting, but has been linked to some serious concerns. I'm not sure exactly who put this article together. Was it public health expert?
ChatGPT again.
Yeah. So Tuesday's issue of the Canadian Medical Association Journal includes a commentary taking stock of what happened with the legalization of non-medical cannabis. The paper doesn't examine the greater uptake of medical cannabis, which has been regulated by the government since 2001. So this is just an examination of recreational cannabis, I guess.
Right.
More than a quarter of Canadian adults, 27%, say they use cannabis, up from 22% in 2017, said author Benedict Fisher, an adjunct professor at the Center for Applied Research in Mental Health and Addictions at Simon Fraser University in Vancouver. Cannabis has been widely available, normalized, and even promoted, Fisher said. I think you can take that with a grain of salt a little bit. I mean, 27% of adults say they use cannabis. I wouldn't be surprised if it's higher than that, because I think there still is quite a bit of stigma associated with cannabis use in a lot of ways, but that's another discussion. Though the CMAJ commenters did not cite any direct health benefits from legalization, the paper notes the important social justice benefits from substantial reductions in criminal arrests and charges, along with the associated stigma. So stigma is always going to be an issue, but they are correct. People obviously aren't getting arrested for it anymore, and that's obviously a benefit. 2/3 of active cannabis users now get their cannabis from legal sources, according to the paper. In Quebec, the minimum age to use cannabis was upped to 21. Interestingly, in Quebec, it's, I believe, 18 years of age to drink alcohol. So I didn't know they changed it to 21 to consume cannabis. And a lot of other provinces like Ontario, where I am, it's 19 to consume cannabis and to drink alcohol.
Wow.
The province
random, just random 19 for you.
Yeah. 18 in Quebec. A lot of kids in Ontario would sometimes go to Quebec at 18 because they could drink there.
Wow.
And also buy like cases of alcohol from Costco, which you also can't do in Ontario. So, or cases of beer anyway, but that's a little sidebar. The province also introduced other restrictions, such as not allowing edibles that would appear to young people, like gummies, candies, and chocolate. I think there's some positive protective effects from that, Fisher said. I'm not really sure why they're focusing on Quebec in that, because there's a lot of restrictions around edibles, generally speaking, across the country, not just in Quebec. So that, I don't know why they're focusing on that. But then they talk about some of the harms. After legalization, there was a large uptick in cannabis poisonings among young children in provinces where edibles were legal.
Cannabis poisonings, man. What the fuck is that?
Yeah. These events were rare, but highlighted the importance of child safety packaging. Probably also highlights the importance of parents keeping their shit out of the hands of young children and, doing good parenting. But I guess shit does happen sometimes. But in any case, they are also admitting that the events were rare. So there is an uptick in these types of events, but maybe that's also because they're legal. People are less afraid to sort of take the necessary action when something like this happens. The increased availability of cannabis also led to other health concerns, bringing people to hospital, says another new paper that studied the cannabis attributable hospitalizations in 4 provinces, both before and after legalization. The study's authors combed through hospitalization data on nearly 7 million people aged 15 and up in Ontario, Quebec, Alberta, and BC. Their findings were published Thursday in the journal, or the JAMA Network Open. I'm not familiar with that publication, but there were 105,000 hospitalizations for cannabis over a 7-year period from January 2015 through to March 2021, the report says. 1/3 were among young people or people aged 15 to 24, while nearly 70,000 or 66% were among males.
Wow.
But I mean, it could be argued that young people aged 15 to 24 are often a little more reckless, perhaps.
But I wonder what the statistics are for alcohol.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, exactly. There's still lots of kids going to the hospital for alcohol poisoning and stuff like that. So I'm sure it's a lot higher, but the study focused on 3 time periods: pre-legalization, post-legalization with product and store restrictions, and post-legalization with commercialization, resulting in more stores and product access. The latter period overlapped with the COVID-19 pandemic. During the early years of legalization with tightly controlled products and limited store access, the rate of hospitalizations didn't notably change. However, data suggests that the commercial period was accompanied by an increase in cannabis hospitalizations, particularly among people aged 25 and older, the study's authors said. Going from a couple of cannabis stores in a city to hundreds increased availability, which can lead to overuse problems. Daniel Moran, a family physician with the Ottawa Hospital Research Institute, says. So he's arguing that when you have a city where you can easily access it, it's going to lead to more hospitalizations because it's easier to get. From his work in public health and as a researcher, Myron said people, mostly young men, commonly show up in emergency departments after using cannabis because they're experiencing withdrawal or are intoxicated, but not displaying cannabis-related psychosis. Myron said that they're at risk, slight, but there, of developing a serious mental disorder, which I find an interesting use of language when he said that there's a risk, it is slight, but then they followed up with like serious mental disorder, which sounds scary. So I don't know if...
Yeah, it's strange to use that kind of language, but you know they have an agenda behind releasing articles like this.
Yeah, and a lot of the times when I hear like doctors, a family physician working with a research institute, I mean, I don't know how much education this particular doctor has had on cannabis. I mean, I'm probably more than most, and maybe he sees things that other doctors might not see, but I take it with a grain of salt, perhaps. They also have a 2% risk of developing schizophrenia within 3 years, said Myron. In comparison to the general population, the risk is well below 1%. Cannabis-induced psychosis has had the largest relative increase for hospitalizations, the study said. Both genes and environmental factors predispose some people to using cannabis and developing schizophrenia. Myron said more research is needed to understand the risk, calling it an area that is under discussed, which is, of course, one advantage of legalization, because then you can do the research that is necessary to dig into these things, where when you have blanket prohibition, none of this stuff gets looked at. The increased potency of cannabis sold after commercialization matters, said Romana Mizrahi, a psychiatrist and professor at McGill University in Montreal. She wasn't involved in the research. If legalization is done correctly, users will receive important information on how much psychoactive THC they're ingesting, which is, of course, on all the packaging and anything you buy in a legal store. When we talk to patients, we explain what this means, she said, and we ask them to take a look at what they buy. I think most people do. Using cannabis can also be risky during pregnancy. Myron pointed to a previous study on people treated for cannabis use disorder in Ontario. The results suggested a doubling in the rate of poor outcomes in newborns among less than 1% of pregnancy visits to the hospital for cannabis use compared to cannabis-free pregnancies. Although it could be argued there could be other factors at play as well.
There usually is.
Yeah. The CMAJ paper noted that impaired driving related to cannabis appeared to be the same or slightly down from pre-legalization levels. In BC, however, the proportion of drivers admitted to hospital after vehicle collisions who tested positive for THC increased after legalization, Fisher and his team said. Impaired driving numbers could be lower as a result of people not venturing out of their homes during the COVID pandemic. Myron calls the effect of legalization an unfinished story. Doctors and scientists want better tracking on the demand for treatment for cannabis use disorders and how many people may be substituting other substances to get high. Said Myron, our data, while not conclusive, is hinting that as the market expands, when you see greater levels of market maturity, new products, that you do see increases in cannabis harms. The end.
Right. The end. That was a lovely story, Marge.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've had legalization for 5 years, and there's plus and minuses, I guess, and that's to be expected. But at the end of the day, I think we can talk about it openly, and people aren't getting arrested and thrown into the judicial system for cannabis. And
I think they're clutching a lot here as well. They're just clutching at straws, just trying to spin cannabis in a bad light. And I think they've had to exaggerate a lot of this, especially when they're going on like 105,000 cases in the last 7 years, and it's like, that's not really bad. You know what I mean?
No, and like you said, you compare that to alcohol or perhaps tobacco or other things like that, or other illegal drugs, perhaps hospitalizations related to that. I mean, at the end of the day, we're adults, and people are going to do what they're going to do anyway.
Yeah. 1/3 were among people 15 to 24. It's like that's it's a big difference between a 24-year-old getting smashed and 15-year-old getting smashed. You know, it's different story, isn't it?
Hmm.
It should be, and there's a reason why they have statistics and put them in numbers like that to just try and make it like it's convenient how it's 105,000 hospitalizations over the last 7 years to push it over that 100K. You know, they've gone for 7 years
Right.
instead of 6. You know, which will be less than 100K, so people don't think it's that much of a big number. You know what I mean? It's just,
How many of them actually stayed in hospital and for how long?
yeah, yeah. How many died?
None.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they don't talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they cover this benefits section. They talk about how like the reductions in criminal arrests, of course, which is a huge benefit.
Hmm.
But there are a lot of like just having all these stores, it does allow access to people who would otherwise not have access. And yeah, they focus on these hospitalizations, but 105 does not seem like a lot over a 7-year period.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't think so. Especially in
Yeah,
a country with populations of millions of people.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, you don't want to like, I don't know, tell granny who's coming in for her arthritis cream not to not to
Mm.
come in, like to have to drive 50 kilometers to get what she needs or something, because there's all kinds of people that visit legal dispensaries in Canada.
Hmm. Yeah, man, interesting one. We got one more here from the USA, and this kind of relates to what you just said there, Marge, about Granny getting the medicine. And the title of this story here is Georgia will be the first US state where pharmacies sell medical cannabis. How fucking cool is
Oh,
that? Yeah, it's so that you'll be able to just go into the pharmacy and buy your medical cannabis rather than having to go through I don't know, some dodgy internet site or something. I don't know how it works over in the USA, but
yeah, it could be a
you have to go
dodgy
to a
internet site.
dispensary. You have to go to a dispensary, right, to go and buy your cannabis, even if it is medical.
I have
I'm
no
not
idea.
too sure. Yeah, I don't know
I don't
either.
know. And it's probably different
Monkey would know,
from
but, you
state to state too. Yeah, he would know.
Do you really
but
want to? Maybe for some people, but do you really want to be buying your cannabis from a pharmacy? Like, would you not want to be getting it from like a bud tender, somebody who actually knows what cannabis
mm-hmm.
is?
That did cross my mind, like the pharmacy model, but I could see that appealing to people who are accustomed to purchasing drugs to make them feel better at a pharmacy. Like you go to
Mm-hmm.
the drugstore to buy Tylenol and you go to, to the counter to pick up your prescriptions. So there may be a certain demographic of people who are more new to cannabis that might be
Yeah.
interested in
And
buying it from
placebo effect is massive too. You know, if you buy it from the
right,
pharmacy, it's definitely gonna have that little
right.
placebo effect. Rather than buying it from a dispensary, you'll feel more high. You'll feel more medicated if you buy it from the the pharmacy, right? I wouldn't,
Yeah.
but some people would because they don't like if they're new to
Well,
cannabis, like Marge mentioned. I think that
and
would
some
help.
people trust the pharmacist, like that whole system, right? Like if you're somebody who's new to
Mm.
cannabis and you're 65 years old and you're trying it for the first time, do you want to get it from some kid in a dispensary or from a pharmacist wearing a lab coat?
God
I
damn.
wouldn't, but
Yeah, that's it. There's them
there might
people
be
out
people
there.
out there. Yeah.
It's better to grow your own anyway, you know.
Yeah.
He states here in this article, for the past year and a half, medical cannabis company CEO Gary Long has spent a lot of time reassuring Georgia's small town mayors about what will soon be coming to their local pharmacy: medical marijuana. Need to put like an echo on that to make it more scary, you know. They think that we're going to be selling joints out of the pharmacy or something, and that's not right, says Long, whose company Botanical Sciences is one of 2 licensed medical cannabis production companies in Georgia. Contrary to what anxious local leaders may think, weed sodas won't be sold alongside Coke Zero at their local pharmacy. But by the end of the year, people who meet the extremely narrow criteria spelled out in Georgia's conservative medical cannabis law are expected to have the opportunity to buy low-dose THC products at their pharmacy at a first in the United States. So
They
and
can't have their weed sodas alongside the Coke Zero. Why not?
it's crazy talk, you know. Well, the sugar in that is more harmful than what's in fucking cannabis, right?
Yeah.
I suppose
Absolutely.
cannabis drinks got a lot of sugar in as well. I'm not sure about that.
Some do, some don't. Depends.
Damn. The Georgia Board of Pharmacy is currently processing applications from pharmacies around the state that want to sell low-dose THC products. And there's that term coming up again. low dose THC products. You know, they just want everybody to be sure that don't worry, it's not the strong stuff. You know, it's just a little bit of mild weed. Low dose THC products under Georgia law, the THC content can only be up to 5%. THC or tetrahydrocannabinol is the part of the cannabis plant that produces a high. One of the key reasons doctors may suggest patients use medical cannabis to help with pain, nausea, insomnia, and other issues. Products can include THC oil, tinctures, topicals, capsules, and lozenges. 5% THC? So what the fuck, man? Why do they do
that's
these
not very
things?
high. So would that apply to like the other products as well? Tinctures and topicals, capsules and lozenges and all that stuff, like 5% THC?
Yeah, that wouldn't make sense,
Huh.
would it? Imagine smoking on
Yeah,
5% tincture, you know?
right.
What the point being that? God damn. National chains such as CVS and Walmart won't be selling THC products in Georgia, but Long said 130 local pharmacies have already agreed to sell his product exclusively. The state has more than 400 independent pharmacies, and many seem interested in getting the special THC sale license. So you're going to need to get a license as well from the government. God damn. According to the professional association representing these stores. That would put 90% of Georgians within a 30-minute drive from a pharmacy that could sell it, Long said. And a 30-minute drive in the USA, it's not very far, is it? You know, the guys like to drive, man.
Mm-hmm.
So it's reasonably close. Other states such as Connecticut.
Walmart's missing out though. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's why would you even go out and buy this shit? But you just gonna still go to the legacy market because I bet the prices of this medical weed isn't gonna be cheap. You might as well just go and buy it from the guy around the corner with 20% THC in it. It's foolish to do things like this. I think it just makes no sense, and it just keeps people going to the legacy market when they're trying to stop that from happening in the first place. Crazy shit. Yeah, this article goes on for a while here. I'll try and pick out some highlights. My 20-year-old kids were like, "Dad, you just went viral." I'm like, "Okay, what the fuck you mean there? What a random bit to read." Where are we? Making medical cannabis so accessible in such a traditional conservative deep south like Georgia caught some by surprise last week after Long's company put out the news release about products would soon be available in pharmacies. Even late night television host Jimmy Kimmel did a skit about it. Wow. You know you've made it when Jimmy Kimmel does a skit on you.
Yeah, I guess that's why you went viral.
I've never seen anything like it, Long said, and said of the sudden attention. Before moving into the medical cannabis field, he was an executive in the more buttoned up healthcare technology business. Right. Yes, so pretty much the title summed up this article, and then it just goes on for a while about this guy's company. But
Right.
yeah, so Georgia's going to be selling cannabis out of pharmacies soon, it's a good step to take. The more places that are giving people opportunities to buy cannabis, especially for medicine, is a good thing.
Yeah, I think so. The access, because you were saying like, why would people buy that and not just get it from the guy down the street? But if you don't have a guy down the street, and you're kind of
Yeah.
like, I wonder if medical marijuana could help me or whatever, then you're
Very true. Very true.
more likely to go to the local pharmacy than the local guy around the corner.
It's just crazy how there's states who have this, but here in the UK, over in Ireland, South USA, they're still completely illegal. It's madness, man. We want pharmacies. It's like we would take this. Some people think this isn't good enough, and we're like, yeah, we'll take it for now. God damn.
Yeah.
Patients in the UK can opt to have their cannabis collected from a pharmacy, can't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You can have it. You can just have it delivered to your house, though.
Yeah, they can get it delivered to their gaff then as well. Yeah.
Which is cool, but it's expensive, isn't it? People can't afford it. That's the problem. It's a step. What's the deal with Ireland? You got medical cannabis over there? Is it so? You could can you order it online and have the doctor prescribe it and shit like that? What's the score in Ireland?
Yeah, the way it's working in Ireland, so Amy kind of filled me in. She gets a delivery of it. She has to get a prescription filled from the doctor. Then that can be sent over to The Hague. Then that has to be paid for before the prescription is actually shipped in from The Hague to Ireland. But previously, the patients actually had to go there and pick it up themselves from the Transvaal pharmacy.
Wow.
But now they can actually have it delivered since the whole, oh, get ready, guys, COVID.
Yeah, it's been said a few times in this show, everybody. So make sure you're smoking, make sure you're making up for it now.
But it's, since the whole COVID stuff, they were able to get the delivery of their medicine then, and they kept that in place then even after the whole pandemic thing came to an end. But like the patients still don't get reimbursed for it at all. Like, there's no reimbursement for the patients given access under the medical cannabis, are given access outside of the medical cannabis access program. The patients getting access at the moment, they're not really getting reimbursed, as far as I know anyway. They're not getting reimbursed.
What's the score in Canada, Marge? You know, medical cannabis, because you guys have a public health service as well, don't you?
Like, is it covered, do you mean?
Yeah. Do you have to pay for the cannabis medicine? What's the deal?
As far as I know, you do. I think you do.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think TG used to have to pay for some, but I think it's got
and like
the
you do pay for a lot of your drugs.
tax reduction or something.
Yeah, you might get like some kind of tax credit or something like that, but
you
do pay for a lot of your own drugs anyway, like whether it's cannabis or anything, unless you have a drug plan, which I don't have. So I pay if I need a prescription for something, I have to pay out of pocket for it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That shit's expensive too nowadays. God damn.
It can be, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Damn. Yeah, so congratulations, Georgia. Another step forward. So places move forward, places go backwards. Well, I don't think anything really goes backwards. I think it's just a really slow movement forwards for most places. Isn't Thailand taking a step back possibly? I think Chobot mentioned something about that in the chat. Yeah, we spoke about it recently on one of the shows as well. Thailand might be re-illegalizing or stepping backwards with the restrictions.
I think there was fears of that there, but I think the government I think they had elections there not too long ago, and there was fears that a different government would have got in one that wouldn't have been as supportive of it. But I believe the one that's in now has indicated that, like, yeah, they don't intend to really change anything that's going to interfere with what's going on over there at the moment. From my understanding, now I'm open to correction on that, but that's what I've been informed on.
Yeah, man. So that's the cannabis news that we have for you this week, everybody. We look forward to getting more articles in next week when everybody returns. Hopefully. Sorry, what was that, mate?
I give you one more piece out of Ireland.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Just there was a guy given a €250 fine here recently. He had his home raided, and they found €5 worth of cannabis in this guy's home, and he got a €250 fine for it. This guy is a 30-year-old man, and they named him. They gave his address in the article and the whole lot. So, like, not only
they doxed him.
They doxed
for €5 of weed.
For €5.
Jesus.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, so that was only just the other day in Ireland that this happened. Like, you know, this guy is just going to be, you know, freaked now going forward because yeah, €250 for €5 worth of weed. That's what's that? 25 times the value of the cannabis.
So ridiculous.
No, it's like, it's more than that. It's what, fucking 45, 50 times, 50 times, 50 times 5, 250. That's a stupid amount of fucking money, man. That's ridiculous. And to dox him as well like that. So, yeah, you're just gonna feel unsafe at your own house, aren't you, if you dox publicly like that?
Yeah. So that's what goes on here in Ireland for the courts, and it seems that this is what's going to continue here now as well.
Damn.
They also had another one more there from Ireland. We had a UK man land at the airport here Friday, and he got picked up by the Gardaí at the airport in connection with a seizure that happened here over 4 years ago, when a load of cannabis was discovered underneath shipments of vegetables.
Bro.
This guy is a UK national. He's 61 years of age as well, apparently. He's been held above there in Dublin now in connection with the seizure, and it's going to be brought to court and stuff like.
No, what have got to hold a grudge for, man? What the fuck?
You know? Yeah. But yeah, 4 years ago, they nabbed him at the airport, and now he's going to be up. But again, who's benefiting from all of this? Like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
3.2 million worth of cannabis, but guys, I just sorry to tell you, like they didn't interrupt the supply at all. It's always been available.
Yeah. They need to try a new method, man. Try the whole legalizing and regulating. Like it's worked for everything else. You know, let's see if it will work for drugs. You know, it's just stupid that we're still in this position after this amount of time.
You have a 61-year-old man, 3.2 million, so he should be looking at a minimum mandatory here in Ireland of 10 years, I think it is. Like he'd be 71 apparently when he's getting out. Like, are we equipped to be really taking care of people at that age of their life just because they're involved in a bit of cannabis? Like, surely we've better things to be doing. Like if he was actually a danger to people in society, lock him up. But it's a danger to nobody.
Stupidness, man.
You know.
Well, it's bound to end soon enough.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. We're just a couple of pieces of forum news here. We still haven't heard anything from Bubblehawk, so it's been like 6 weeks since we haven't heard anything from him now. So we're gonna chase him down and try and figure out where the fuck he is and make sure that he's okay. And as soon as we hear something from him, we'll let you all know. So, you know, when we know, you will know. You know, where's that Mackie rat? Hang on, the British government. Yeah. I've been pretty stoned for the last couple of shows, so there hasn't been so much of a rant going on, you know.
Not on the ball as much, eh?
Oh, you just can't be asked ranting, innit? Just high, just chilled, man. Just chilled. It's like, what's the point of ranting? They won't. Nothing will change. They just keep fucking us over. I don't know. Something needs to change in this country soon because people are cracking, man. It's like I would rant more about cannabis, but we have so many bigger problems going on right here in the UK right now. It's like cannabis has been moved down the list because we've got all these other bigger problems to be figuring out. It looks like we're going to be heading into World War III soon. It looks more and more likely every fucking day. You get up and check the news, and it's like, I wish I didn't check the fucking news now. You know, things are getting bad, man. What do you want me to rant about? Because there's plenty to fucking rant about. You know what I'm saying? God.
Right, when you start.
Yeah, it's going fucking mad. So, I don't know. Just get high and try and ignore it. That's what I think is good advice, you know? What can you do? Weed. Sorry, mate? Yeah, grow some weed. Yeah, that's what you have to do. Grow some weed. And don't worry about it so much. It doesn't affect you anyway. Yet, it might do, you know, in a year or so when it's all kicking off all over the world and people are going to be sent off to the front line if there even is one. But maybe that won't even happen. Maybe it'll be okay. I don't know. Is everybody as concerned as I am? You know? What do you think, Martin? Yeah, what do you think, Margie? Are you concerned about the current events in the world? Or am I just over-exaggerating?
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously it's concerning.
And what's going on over there in the Middle East, around Israel and Palestine, it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, and these people are fighting other people's wars, you know, it's absolutely crazy. A lot of the people who are falling victim to this, they're just innocents, like on both sides. It's ridiculous. Like there should be no fucking violence. What's going on over there is no need for it. But it seems like that is more likely to escalate into something bigger than the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, from what I can see. Like the whole Russia-Ukraine thing, it seemed to be losing a bit of steam. Snow seems to be really escalating stuff. And these guys in the Middle East, they seem to have, I suppose, less restrain, I suppose. Like they'd be more quickly the fucking, you know, I know they love to take off the sandals and slap one another with the sandals, but I'd imagine they'd be quick to press the button and drop a bomb on each other as well over there. Like your man Netanyahu, whatever his name is, that Israeli guy.
Netanyahu, yeah.
Like he says that if Hezbollah get involved with the Palestinian guys and start supporting them, that he'd wipe them out. He's threatened to wipe them out.
Scary.
Like, and that means he's going to be bringing the war into another country, because the Hezbollah guys, I don't know, are they based in like the Lebanon or some shit? Like, I'm not too in on what goes on over there, but
you know what I want to see in the news? You know, I want to see the fucking client list, motherfuckers. It's been like 2 years, or I don't know how long it's been since Jeffrey Epstein tragically killed himself in his prison cell. Man. You know. Don't be a conspiracy theorist.
That's stirring the pot.
You know, that's crazy talk, Martin. That's crazy talk. He killed himself. But, you know,
the guy killed himself while he was on suicide watch in a small cell. Like, how? Come on.
You're asking too many questions, bro. We'll get flags. All right. But it's fuckery, man. How we still don't see the fucking client list, and we just keep on getting spammed with this shit, which is concerning. You know, every time you see this shit in the news, you think we're one step closer to World War III. But really, realistically, none of this really affects us
But
directly.
what does it matter if you got the client list, Mackie? All right, just think about this for a second. We already know one person who was there. This guy is royalty, and this guy has paid off his victim, and everybody knows that he's done this, and nobody's actually holding him account for what he has done.
Yeah,
You
man.
know, he's paid off.
Mhm.
Like, come on, it's there, it's bold, it's blatant, it's obvious, and like, what does it matter if we get the rest of the list? Sure, they're just going to laugh at us as well. They're just going to be
Yeah,
like, hey,
yeah.
you can't touch it, can't touch this. You
You know
know,
what I mean?
like,
It's like, yeah, this person, but what are you gonna do about it? There you go. That's the list. But what are you gonna do about it? Fuck you
yeah,
all.
you
You
know.
know.
I couldn't believe that your man fucking that royal guy what was his name, Edward, is it, the guy who doesn't Andrew, yeah, that's it,
The guy
Andrew.
who doesn't sweat. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I couldn't believe he's actually getting away with this, but at the same time I'm not surprised
Yeah,
either.
that's
Like,
it. Yeah, innit? You can't believe it, but at the same time, you can. This is just how
yeah.
things roll. Craziness, man.
It's like, what can we do about that shit? Like, you know, it's
Absolutely nothing.
nothing. You know, you just be made disappear or something.
Yeah, so there we go. That was this week's Cannabis News and Events, everybody. And of course, if you see any news articles that you see throughout the week that you want us to cover on next week's show, then feel free to get in touch. You can message us over on percysgrowroom.com, email us at highonhomegrown@gmail.com. You can find us on X/Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well. You can find us all on those places. And of course, the Discord server, which is in the link in the description of this video. So just scroll down, click on the Discord server, and you come and join us and have some discussions over there. But yes, thanks for coming to join us, Martin. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, man. Thanks for keeping us updated with what's going on in Ireland, and I hope things get better soon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
no
was pretty
problem at
nice
all.
to be-
It's been a pleasure to join you too. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, man. And we should get you on for an interview soon so we can catch up on all of the other things that you've been up to. Yeah, because you're a busy guy.
I have been, but as you've known, I've been very inactive over the last year, so I don't really want to be talking a whole lot about what went on over that last year, but I'd certainly get on and have a chat about what went on previous and what the plans are going forward.
Nice. Yeah, that's for sure, man. For sure. Sounds good.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's go to the outro then. Let's do it.
This is a pleasant music. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where the music plays in the background, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'll professionally fade it
Yeah.
like a pro. Here we go. Look, fade in like a professional. There you go. Fucking BBC standard, that is. Look at that. Fucking hell. Skills, professionalism. But yeah, it's just a short one today. Well, I say a short one. It's been an hour and 20 minutes since we started Cannabis News. But we're doing the Grow Guide sometime in the week when Monkey is feeling a bit better because he's not very well this week. It's a damn shame. So I hope he feels better soon. You know, everybody go over to the thread on Percy's just to send your love and all of that to Monkey and be like, get better soon, bro. And yes, Bubble Hawk, when we hear from him, you'll hear from him. We'll let you know as soon as we know something. So there'll be updates all over the place. So keep an eye out for that. Hope he's back next week, man. It's been a while since, and I bet it's just gonna be some normal fucking story. Like, yeah, I said I was going away for 6 weeks, man. What are you all getting panicked for? Jesus.
Yeah. Like, just
Alright,
fly.
stoners.
You know, it's like, you like my mom, man. I got 1,000 messages. Like, where are you? But yeah, man. Yeah, get better soon, Monkey. And thanks to everybody for coming to join us. Don't forget to hit the like button. And thank you again for Martin and go and check out those streams over the last few days over on Martin's channel as well if you want to know more about that Citizens Assembly. Any Martin? Where can they go over? It's just youtube.com/MartinsWorld. How are we saying that? How do we get to your
Martin's
stuff?
World, that's it, exactly. Martin's World over on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and all of those places. But all of the live streams pretty much go up on YouTube. It'll be the best place to find it.
Nice. And Mark, you might as well drop. Sorry, you wasn't finished, Martin.
No, I was just going to say the Citizens Assembly are probably the two most recent streams that are up there, and everything else is all the interviews from last year and the protests as well are all up there. They're all well worth watching if you haven't watched those some of those protest videos.
And Mark, you want to drop the links to your show where people can go and find more about Bite Me?
Yeah, of course. You can find Bite Me, the show about edibles, on your favorite podcast platform, or you can also check it out at bitemepodcast.com.
Nice. Professional. See that? See that, John? Professional. Yeah, so it's been a pleasure, as always, everybody. And keep an eye out for when the next stream is going to be. It's going to be Wednesday, possibly Thursday. You know, we'll wait until Monkey feels a bit better, and then we'll get the grow cards recorded. So there'll be a random in the week stream. So keep an eye out for that. We don't have any interviews this week either, I don't think. But we have Lizzie posting the week after that, which is going to be an interesting one. We haven't spoken to Lizzie for a while. And of course, Halloween's coming as well. Maybe we'll do something for that next week. We'll see. We'll see. If anybody has any plans, any ideas, let us know. And the pumpkin carve off, I forgot to mention that. Yeah, that starts tomorrow. So check out on Pharmacies when the pumpkin carve off starts. But that's it. I think that's everything, everybody. Right? I think so. I think we're good. Let's
You had
wait.
some savage entries for last year's pumpkin carve off. To be
Oh
fair.
yeah, god damn. I'm scared. I don't want to enter this year, you know.
Competition's high.
So we'll catch you on the next one, everybody. Stay high and stay safe. And we'll
Right,
see you on
goodbye.
in the week sometime. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.